Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. Entitled Paper calls cops on me and veterinarian to prove I'm the legal owner of my rabbit. Before I start the story, I'll tell you that the rabbit in the story was extremely tame. She was kicked out of the nest, so I had to bottle feed her for a couple of weeks. She was loyal and she listened to me like a dog. This made it so that I would be able to walk with her in public and even forests without her fleeing from me. She always had on a harness when I walked with her and I had a leash. Now on to the story. So I was walking with my rabbit to the veterinarian to get her bi-yearly anti-coccidia shot because she had gotten it at a young age and it was the best way to prevent a secondary infection of it. I was not even 5 minutes away from the veterinarian when it happened. A mom and her kid walked by. The kid suddenly tried to pick up my rabbit. She only allowed me to do it. Not everyone who tried succeeded. She luckily got away from the kid and ran toward me and started stomping. The entitled mother walked up to me and said thank you for stopping my kid's rabbit. I was absolutely dumbfounded by what she said, and I instantly picked up my rabbit and put the leash on her harness, just in case. I tell her, "Excuse me, his rabbit?"
Yes, his rabbit. Now hand him over.
Wait, what gender did you just say it is? My rabbit is female.
A boy. Now hand him over before I call the cops.
Haven't chipped my rabbit in case this exact thing happened. I tell her, so I can tell you won't leave me alone. Let's head to the veterinarian to check if she's chipped, then we know who her owner is.
It's an he, and I don't accept this. Just hand him over or I will call the cops.
The cops will tell you the exact same thing I just did if I tell them that she is chipped. We will also go to the veterinarian to check. I start walking to the veterinarian office with my rabbit held tightly to my body. The mother and the kid followed me. At the veterinarian's clinic, I checked my rabbit in for her appointment and did not have to wait a second because of the delay I got dealing with these entitled mother and kid. The vet asked me why I brought them, and I can't even start my sentence because she yells,
"It's not his rabbit. It's my son's."
And the vet tells her, "Oh, I see. I will get the chip reader to check the legal owner." The rabbit's chip is controlled and the vet asks for all of our IDs and surprise, surprise, I come out as the legal owner. The mother and her kid angrily walk out the clinic, and I and the vet start the appointment. I was about to leave when a couple of cops and someone from the wildlife ambulance walked in with the mother and the kid. The cop says, "We got a report of a stolen rabbit." And the vet instantly says that this is a false report, that we already read the chip and found the person who's the legal owner. The wildlife ambulance man then says that's why I'm here. It is good you say you already checked the chip, so I will do the same from a neutral position. I and the vet instantly accepted this, and I let him check, but the mother intervened. The wildlife ambulance man says, "Ma'am, if you don't let me do my job, you will be charged with struggling against procedure."
But in the time it took for you to come, they could have implanted the chip for this reason.
"Ma'am, it takes 1 hour to implant and put in the correct data. Let me do my job." The chip and everyone's ID gets checked, and guess what happened? Again, I was found to be the legal owner. I got asked to press charges, which I happily did, and got a compensation that was almost enough for the appointment. The end. Next story. You want me to stop speaking Welsh? In Wales? I posted on Reddit a while back about an entitled dad making fun of me for stuttering in a coffee shop. This little gem occurred mid-last year. So for context, I was born in a county in North Wales called Gwynedd. And as such, I'm a part of a tiny minority because I didn't even begin learning English until I was about 11 or 12. I'm 21 now. So naturally, I'm much more comfortable speaking my native language, Welsh. Now, because I wasn't content to be a farmer or a primary school teacher, I moved down south and ended up in Cardiff, where only something like 7% of people can speak any Welsh. No problem. I'm confident enough to speak English by now. I should also preface that I'm autistic and not good with confrontation at all. I also stutter a lot when I speak English. So I've been working in a coffee shop for a little while now, dealing with people and just generally starting to get settled in. One day I met a kindred spirit. This elderly man who's been coming in regularly more for company than for coffee. Whenever I see him, I get his order ready right away, and I sit with him when I've got a spare few minutes. I say he's a kindred spirit because he's another native Welsh speaker, but speaks very little English. I find that a bit odd, considering he lives in Cardiff, but over the next few days he tells me about his life. He tells me how he grew up in Pixabay, which made me really happy because I'm from Carnarvon, which is just a little ways north. He tells me how he owned a fishing boat and used it to make his living while his wife worked as a teacher. They moved down to Cardiff together into a really big house when his wife finally retired, and this went pretty smoothly since she could speak fluent English and handled most things outside. Recently, his wife has died of leukemia, which has made life a lot harder for him. The guy had a fantastic sense of humor, and I was happy to sit and keep him company, if only for a little while here and there. I guess it was nice for him to actually be able to have a solid conversation with someone. My manager used to know this guy's wife, as both of them came in here a lot before I started working, so he was always sympathetic and made sure to pick up the slack a little bit as a result of me chatting with him. Even though I'm not fantastic at being social, the old guy had a great outlook on life, even for a widower. He always had the most interesting stories to tell, including one time he recounted how he swam back to shore after his little sailboat capsized in a storm. He always just had this damn all of you, I'm my own free cool self kind of attitude, which I admired a lot. One day we're gibbering away and this entitled mother comes over with a little boy's hand clutched in hers.
Shouldn't you be doing your job?
I reply with a stutter, "Oh, it's fine, don't worry. I'm still clearing tables, but my manager asks me to keep an eye on this gentleman." The old guy is confused at this point, barely understanding a word. So I explain to him that she's just asking about something.
What? What was that?
She's getting really in my face now. Huh? I'm starting to get extremely nervous and I can barely get my words out.
What did you say to him? Here you are, slacking off. Speak English.
And the old guy said in Welsh, "Who is she?" I explained to him that she's demanding we speak English. At this point, I'm just kinda stalling, talking directly to this woman as I'm not even sure what to say. The little kid she's with is looking slightly alarmed at what his mom is doing. She said,
"You're in Wales. Speak English for God's sake. Not this Middle Eastern crap."
"Excuse me?"
"You heard me."
Then a little boy tells her, "Mom, are we getting food yet?"
"Not yet. Mommy's talking."
Then the old guy said, also in Welsh, "But I don't know any English." And this sends her into a right huff, and she looks around the shop appealing to the other customers.
"Sorry, but I don't appreciate lazy foreigners in my country. In my coffee shop."
Yes, she really said my coffee shop.
"What kind of example are you setting for my son?"
At this point, another customer who undoubtedly heard the old guy and I having a very animated conversation calls to her from the other side of the shop and says, "Hey lady, you're in Wales. They are speaking Welsh. You knew that, right? A few other customers start giggling a bit before shaking their heads dismissively and going back to what they were doing.
Stay out of it!
She snaps at the customer, then turns back to me. Although she's certainly gone a deep shade of red now, she's obviously doubling down. At this point, I'm just kinda frozen in social anxiety, not sure how to turn my mind words into mouse words anymore. I stutter, "Yeah, we're in Wales." She cuts me off.
Go on, say something then. And it better be in English.
I look briefly at the old guy who just had this evil, malicious compliance-like grin on his face. He said, in English but in the thickest Welsh accent you can imagine, "Turn around. Go right now, you damn cheeky cow." And he said some other bad words as well. Anyone in the immediate vicinity just goes silent and stares. Even I was straight up not expecting that to come out of this guy's mouth. In a right huff, she stomps out of the shop, and the wailing little boy clutched in hand. I look at him, who just burst into a fit of laughter. "How did you know how to?" He then cuts me off and goes on to explain to me that his wife taught him to say that because she had this friend who would constantly poke fun at him, knowing he wouldn't understand. His wife would nudge him, and he'd deliver that line to shut her up. Old guy, even though you're not with us anymore on Earth, I will never forget you and your refusal to take anyone's bullcrap. I wish I had you for a granddad. Rest in peace. Next story. Do not mess with my little sister. I have twin sisters that are a couple years younger than me. They are two of the sweetest little girls and avoid confrontation, almost the exact opposite of me. So because they are so sweet, they are prone to bullying, and because they are good-looking young women, most of the bullying comes from girls who are jealous of them. The time of this story I was 19 and they were 16. My first year of college I was 3 hours away from home, so any bullying that happened couldn't be directly confronted or taken care of by me. That does not mean I wasn't involved. So apparently my younger sister had a new boyfriend that used to be involved with one of the head cheerleaders at my sister's high school. Knowing about a new relationship between the boy and my sister, a gang of cheerleaders started to bully my sister both online and in school. Daily, I would get phone calls from my little sister crying about being harassed. My advice to Randy knock out them and cut their hair in class did not work because let's face it, neither of the twins had the courage to do anything about the girls. So instead, I took matters into my own hands, messaged all the little cheerleading girls involved and let them know if the bullying did not cease, I would make the 3-hour drive home and make them stop. This only encouraged more taunting and bullying.
So you can't fight your own battles?
That type of stuff. Since I went to the same high school, I had known these cheerleaders. But I also knew that our high school had a no-tolerance truancy rule. And if you were caught leaving campus, you were immediately suspended and in big trouble. I used this to my advantage when I saw that the girls had left campus not only on a Friday, but in their cheerleading uniforms on a football game day, and posted about their lunchtime adventure subway on Snapchat. I used this to my advantage and called the school pretending to be an upset woman, whose car was almost hit by the cheerleader's car pulling out of the subway parking lot. I asked to speak to the head cheer coach, who made up a whole elaborate story about the girls cussing at me, almost hitting my car, wearing their uniforms, and talking rudely to me. The coach assured me the girls would have consequences and that they shouldn't even have been off campus to begin with. They ended up being kicked out of the cheer team and put in school suspension, a room where you sit in complete silence and do your schoolwork while not allowed to talk or socialize or have your phone. That was for a whole week. They never cheered again, which was a big deal because they would post on social media about how much they love to do it. I called my little sister and told her what I did then. She was just amazed at how clever I was and how it played out. Every day she saw them in suspension, she would text me and tell me what horrendous things were happening to them at lunch and how they weren't allowed to leave anywhere. Next story. My parents didn't label country crook containers for foodstuff, so I got creative. So as the title suggests, I came across a meme on Zook's domain concerning those country crook butter containers and how it's a crapshoot of whether it's actual butter or something else. And it reminded me of something I did back in the late 90s when I was still in high school. On to the story. My parents were notorious for not labeling those things. It got to the point where I told them that if they didn't label them, I'd eat or add whatever was inside to what I'm cooking. Obviously, they laughed it off and told me to suck it up. So one night, I felt like making toasted tuna sandwiches. The first container I opened up had nothing but whole olives in it. So I said screw it. Olives it is. The next morning, my mom is fiddling around in the kitchen when she calls out, "Who ate all the olives?" I poke my head into the kitchen, make eye contact and mouth the words, "I told you," while twitching my eyebrows Groucho style. I got grounded for it, but after they started labeling the containers. But that doesn't end there. They labeled the containers with post-it notes. Now the saying on my dad's side of the family is that there is always at least one comedian per generation. One night, while my parents were asleep, I went and switched around the labels. They wanted diced jalapenos, they got French onion dip instead. The following afternoon I hear my mom holler, "Who changed all the labels?" And my dad gave me a knowing look. I got grounded again, but my dad confessed he did the same thing before I did. And ever since then, they have used Sharpies, and never an incident since. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.